I have this guy that I can't figure out how to help. He has a home tap. This guy's pretty much in pre-foreclosure, stuck in like $1 million house. Business slowed down. He has all these other expenses now. He doesn't want to sell. He's 2 months behind on the payment. He has an existing loan, like a 2% interest rate on the majority, and then the rest of it's home tap. And he's like begging me to lend him money to cover his last two mortgage payments. He's unfinanceable. He can't refi out.
What's the payoff amount?
$400,000 or $500,000. House is worth $1 million conservatively. Home tap did an appraisal that he sent me at like 1.15. That's consistent with the neighborhood.
If somebody refinances him, that would be the only way that it would be doable, and they'd want to refinance the first and the home tap. So when I asked you what the payoff was, and you said 500 and it's worth 1.5, there's a chance somebody may be willing to do that like a private lender, but they won't because it's owner occupied, very likely. So a lot of the hard money lenders or private money lenders, they don't lend on owner occupied. There's a couple of people out there that do, but most people don't, because in order to do the owner occupied, you basically have to take them through the same qualifications. There's all kinds of consumer protection laws, basically.
Of course. And he's gone high and low. He's gone to banks. He's looking everywhere online. He's trying to get a second home tap because they came out again and they said his house went up. He requested an appraisal from me. And so I call him like, hey, are you just looking for your home value? It's like, oh no, this lender told me to get an appraisal and send it to them. And they'll look at it. I was like, okay, I'm glad we're talking right now. That's a red flag.
I think the best thing is just going to be give him time. So a couple things are going to happen. One, if he wants to keep the property, he's going to try everything he can until basically he gets very close to the foreclosure.
And he's 2 months late now. They're about to call notice of default on him. He's done he's done like payment plans with them in the past. I think he had a deferment or something like that. So they won't work with him again. I don't know if they'll do a loan mod or anything like that as well.
Yeah, I don't think so, bro. Well, I think the only way, I think the only way is if there's a private lender out there that's willing to do it. Like I know of one in California. Are you in California?
No, I'm in Michigan.
Yeah, I know of one in California that does it. So I had a client that was owner occupied, and somebody lent them $200,000, and I'm like, how did you get that loan? And he goes, well, this person did it. And then after that, I got his contact information, and then I kept them on file for certain situations like this. But
as I'm hearing this and listening to Jose kind of walk this through, is like, there's a saying that says somebody's going to have to learn from their own kind of experience. And in my experience, like what Jose's saying is true, that people will do everything they possibly can and exhaust all options. And we know with a super high degree of probability that when he exhausts all those options, he's going to come to the same conclusion, which is that he's going to have to sell. He's just going to get less equity. So there's two ways to approach this. One is kind of the way that you have been, Chris, which is that of like a concerned consultant. And I'm trying to find you options, but the truth is he has none. So that's one way, and you just wait it out. Like what Jose's saying, you let him come to self-discover that his efforts are futile at best and are willful and are, just kind of like he's letting his attachment to the property blind himself to the actual reality of the situation. And we all do this, by the way. So that's one way. You just wait it out and you're a nice boy. And hopefully when it all shakes out, he calls a nice boy and you help him. Yes?
Yeah.
The second thing you can do is to have a very candid, straightforward conversation with him. And I don't know if you've done this already, but something along the lines of like, hey, it really seems like your major goal and objective is to exhaust every single option you possibly can to try to stay in the home. I know that this doesn't fit into your plan and your desire was to sell in 2 years. And that's just not what this is at the moment. At the same time, with a very high degree of probability, and this isn't me being negative, this is just an accurate assessment of reality based on what you've shared with me, more likely than not, and probably like 30 to 60 days after you exhaust those options, you'll reach out to me and we'll have a conversation with regards to putting the home on the market. Can I share with you what would concern me for you and ultimately how much you end up getting for this property if you choose that approach? Well, what would concern me is that every day that goes by now, being that it's already in default, the amount that you owe is going up and the penalty fees are going up. So essentially your equity is shrinking. So my concern would be is that if 60 to 90 days go by and then you reach out to me and it's 2 days away from foreclosure, unfortunately, through no fault of kind of yours or mine, you will end up netting less. So what I'd like to do is just ask you a series of detailed questions. And my intention in asking them, again, it's not to be nosy. It's not to try to persuade you in any way. Instead, it's just to help you to get as much clarity as you possibly can around the situation so you can make the decision that you feel is best. And whatever you decide, I'm going to support you. Fair enough? Yeah. So being that the lender has already, your primary who holds the first, they've already helped you. And if I remember correctly, based on what you would kind of have to share with me, they've already indicated that that's not something that they're willing to participate in again. Is that accurate? Yeah, that's accurate. Okay. And then I'm also aware that you've exhausted some other options in terms of, like you already did with Tap In, they already kind of lent you money. And now you're trying to go to the private markets and individuals to lend you money. And at the same time, I mean this lovingly, even if somebody did lend you money from kind of your personal perspective, like would that actually make this feasible for you to maintain this property long term, or is it just kicking the can down the road? And eventually you're going to have to deal with this. And because you've borrowed more and because of market dynamics, the equity position, will continue to shrink. So with that being the case, you have a choice to make, and the choice is entirely yours. And whatever you decide is perfectly okay. First option is you exhaust all your options, which you're in the process of doing. And again, more likely than not, I want you to really hear my heart on this. I'm not being negative. It's just an accurate assessment of reality. We're probably going to end up in the same place. The only difference will be is 60 to 90 days will go by and you'll have less equity. The second option is you kind of, assess reality and then you deal with it directly and head on, which would be as you put it on the market, you extract the capital. And yes, I am aware that is different than what you thought this was going to look like. At the same time, this is a capital preservation mode. So we can extract as much capital as we can, and then you can figure out what you'll do from there. Now, either one's okay. It's entirely up to you because you're the boss here. So based on what you're looking to accomplish and why, based on the experience you've had so far, we're trying to exhaust all these options, and based on what you value most at this stage in your life and how important this equity is to you, what do you think we should do? And then shut up. Now, I'm not suggesting that would work every single time, but that's really the only other option, is to have that candid, straightforward conversation, put the options on the table, and then let them make a decision versus, oh yeah, I'll continue to look for options and I'll like the good boy, Like I'll continue to look for options and I'll continue to try to figure it out, when we know that's a futile for you and for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like politely confronting people when you know something is true. But like what ends up happening if we're not careful, we put our own discomfort with it, or our own discomfort with the conversation, our own concerns or fears about the conversation in front of disseminating truth. And there's a way that you can do that professionally. So my intention in going down that path was just to like demonstrate to you guys like what that sounds like, polite confrontation. But I need everybody on this call to understand something, okay? The marketplace that we're in and will continue to be in for the next, 12, 18, 36 months, because the cost of money is not going to come down radically anytime soon. And that's the main driver of demand. You're going to have these uncomfortable conversations with people every single day. Every day. Sellers aren't going to get what they want. Their expectations aren't going to be right. They're going to be, they're going to push back at you because you're asking for a price adjustment. You're going to get offers that come in less than the asking price. There's just way more friction in transactions. So like really getting comfortable with having uncomfortable conversations is critical to your success.